Hey guys, welcome to Chess Roots. Today I'm going to show you a game which was played between Vishwanathan Anand and Alexander Morozevich in linares tournament 2007. This was Railu page prayer variation e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop b5, a6, bishop a4, knight f6, castle shot, bishop e7, rook e1, b5, bishop b3, d6, c3, castle, h3. Now Breyer variation is here playing knight b8. This move looks pretty strange for everyone first time if they saw this move, knight b8, but there are lots of variations analyzed into this variation, and black is pretty comfortable even playing knight b8. His idea is to come knight d7 and bishop b7, keeping the open diagonal for this bishop, and later he can play c6 or c5, queen c7. And the others on regular Rilo page we'll see knight to a5, later he'll play c5. Let me remove this arrows. Okay, first. Okay, in other Rilo page you will see knight a5, black is playing knight a5 attacking this bishop, and bishop c2. Then he later plays c5, knight will come back to c6. But this binary variation keeping black pieces more flexible. So knight bd2, bishop b7, bishop c2. Now black is threatening to lock this knight, not allowed to move to knight f1, a natural developing square of this knight. So bishop c2, rook e8, knight f1, bishop f8, knight g3. Here Morozevich played a line which was pretty rare, and in recent modern theory this move looks like very passive, but the idea behind this move is pretty strong. c6. The reason why he played c6 is he simply wants to stabilize the center and not allowing any prevention like d5, most like d5, or even he wants to play at one moment, he wants to play more like queen c7, rook d8, then he can control the center. But c6, in my view, c6 is pretty little bit slow. He already have the strong diagonal for this bishop hang on e4 pawn, so he could have played a move like g6 and trying to prevent this knight to f5, and also he can play a move like bishop g7. If white plays any move like d5, then he can transpose his bishop maybe to c8, or even he can then play c6. There are many options. So c6 was played, knight f5, queen c7, d into e5, d into e5. Here Anand in his own style played knight h2. Now the idea of knight h2 is simply he wants to make this queen to f3. Sorry, my mouse is pretty bad. So queen f3 and knight g4 maybe, or bishop g5, bishop into f6, and knight g4 with a very good chances of attacking the black king. So After knight h2 he simply played c5. Now the idea is to play c4, leaving this c5 square for queen, bishop, knight, everything. So fair chance, and this d3 square is also a little bit weak after knight c5, knight d3. Not immediately, but there is a probability of black can occupy this d3 if there is no bishop on c2, and also this e4 is under e4 will be under immense pressure. Here the moves like b3 can also be played instead of knight h2. After c5, white can close it by c4. A very interesting line, which not even many grandmasters played this one. But c4, after c4, the problem with this line is they will have a bad bishop on bishop c2, but he can force some things like he will slow down black's planning such that he can freely attack on the king side. See, for instance, I'll say knight maybe b8. Now the idea of knight b8 is simple: to occupy this d4 square. After knight b8, bishop g5 maybe, attacking this bishop, knight f d7, bishop d3 forcing to play b4, or he will capture the b5, b4. Now knight d2, a very interesting move. Now he wants to transpose this other knight to d5. So but black is also having a good chance of occupying this d4 space. So this should be a plus equal, but pretty hard to win from both the sides, one should say, because the position is closed. Sorry that my mouse is very bad today. Okay, now so if he plays a move like so let us see, after b3 maybe c5, and he could have leave that without playing c4, because if black played a move like c4, he can immediately play b4, then he will play a5. For example, let us see, c4, b4, and he can play a5. For that you cannot support with a3 because he can capture this, and this rook is on a1 is not supported. So now he can play a more like bishop g5, maybe c4, b4, a5 can be replied with a3. Even this position is comfortable with black, one should say, because the bishop on c2 is hardly doing anything, whereas black can have a chance of stabilizing the position by playing. Even the king side is also not that much weak, so black can hold on. So Anand played here d after d into e5, knight h2, c5, queen f3, c4, bishop g5. As we discussed these plans before, rook e6, rook a d1, knight c5. Now here white took bishop into f6. Here the moves like knight h6, king h8 doesn't really do anything for black. Doesn't really do any harm for black. So knight h6, king h8, and knight f7. So bishop f6, rook into f6, knight g4, attacking the rook on f6, rook e6, knight e3, knight in g e3. After this move, I think black has succeeded in playing a good defensive position. Now see, in this position, I feel black is slightly better than white because of his greater piece moment. And this knight on c5, bishop on f8, bishop on b7, all the black pieces are very good then compared to white pieces. See, now this other rook is also ready to occupy this again. So black doesn't really have any problem in this position. Queen a5. Now I think this position queen a5 is not preferable because it's simply attacking a pawn which is not that much required, and after a3 the queen on a5 doesn't really do anything. See, for example, let us play a3, which was played in the game. There is no entry for this queen on a5, and even he cannot play a move like knight b3, so there is no purpose of playing queen a5. At least he could have played something like rook e8 and exchanging this rook on d1. Queen a5 is, looks like very bad for me. g6. After a3, g6 was played. Knight d5, a very interesting positional exchange sacrifice. This is an ideal sacrifice. That means black is not forced to take this exchange, piece. But if you capture, white will get an advantage. But there is no way that there is no forced continuation that black have to capture this. So this is a passive positional sacrifice. Rook d8. See, let us see first of all what happens if we capture g into f5. After g into f5, e into f5, maybe rook e8 is also possible, then knight f6. So if we play a move like for example rook h6, then queen g3 check, king h8, queen into e5 check, bishop g7, f6, attacking this bishop on g7, bishop f8 is forced, knight e7, attacking the knight on c5. If you support with queen b6, queen g5, now he's threatening mate on g8. And if you play rook g6, bishop into g6, f into g6 met by knight into g6, h into g6, and rook e7. So this type of threats will occur if you capture this knight on f5. So very dangerous and not preferable at the level of the Anand and Morozevich, because they usually don't allow any players to attack on them. So knight d5, rook d8, and queen g3, rook d7. Black is slowly improving his position, whereas white really don't getting any good plan to continue his attack. Queen d8, and here Anand played a positional mistake. Queen f3 looks terribly bad, because queen f6 is simply threatening knight f6. That's it, nothing, no other threat than knight f6. But the pin on b7 to f3 is very dangerous for white. He can in one moment he can play more like f5, and this d5 knight is gone. So bishop g7, preventing knight f6, a4 was played. Rook ed6, big battery in the d file. ab5. Now black is seriously threatening to play f5. So Anand don't really have a good option to prevent f5. He have to play g4 and queen h4. So Morozevich is more like he's loving this position because Anand really don't find any good way to win this position. So he's forcing all the things and going into a minus position. So at least he played a rook h1, rook a1, taking control on the open file. Knight e6. Now knight f4 now. Queen g3, the obvious way to try to equalize the position. Okay, listen. When you are positionally down, maybe the good way to defend any positional when you are positionally down is to exchange the pieces. This is very important, and when you forget this is when you don't know what to do in certain positions when you are positionally down. Please try to exchange your opponent pieces which are very active, and if you go to an end game, you will at least have an option to draw that position maybe, or even sometimes if he mistakes trying to go for over aggression or to force to win the position, he may lose the and you will be winning the game by defending the position. So queen into g3, f into g3. So Morozevich is not forcing anything to go and win directly, so he simply exchange. Now Anand is happy with this exchange because there is no knight f4 now. Knight c5. I think this move is bad. Simply could have played something else like maybe knight c7, because there are two rooks on the d file is simply protected by this knight on d6 and d7. This knight is protecting these two rooks not to enter in the white camp. So simply try to exchange this knight and enter rook d2. Then black could have get a good chance to win this game. So knight c5, definitely a mistake. And knight c5 he kept a maybe called as invisible trap. The trap is simple. He wants to play bishop h6, which many of the players will miss this move. Bishop h6 and bishop into e3, knight into e4. Knight into e4 can directly be also played after bishop h6. After bishop into e4, simply take bishop into e3, rook into e3, bishop into d5, or knight into e3, bishop into e4. So Anand saw this move and played h4. If bishop h6, you can simply play g5. Okay, g5. Oh, sorry, mouse is very bad today. So now there is no more like bishop h6, or even h5 and bishop h6 is also possible, but after h5 also he will simply play g5. So h6, rook a5, attacking b5, bishop c6, knight b4, bishop into e4, bishop into e4, knight into e4, rook into e4. Now I feel white is better because of the good positional advantage because of these two knights and having a good open files with two rooks and having a pawn majority on the queen side. Okay, so here he played knight d2, knight f3, king g2, e4, opening this diagonal of this bishop on g7, and also threatening to play knight f3 and rook d2. So rook e2, a logical move. Bishop f8, knight d5. Now again closing this uh, rook's open file with the knight, so there will be no counter again. So e3, the only way to open up the things, and the c4 pawn is pretty weak, and even the knight on d2 is also under attack. So knight into e3, rook e6, again closing with the other knight. So Anand is technically playing very good in this position. End game. Knight b3, knight f4, rook c6, knight into c4, rook into c4, rook into b3, and this position is white is clearly better because of the two passed pawns on the queen side. King g7. Now he simply wants to play more like maybe g5 sometime. So, or he wants to maybe just not want to check, you check on f6, or even rook e8 pin is also looking a bit uncomfortable. Okay, rook e8, this looks more logical, I think. So rook b5, bishop c5, rook b5 just not allowing any g5 or h5 anymore, or even f5, bishop c5, g5. So fixing this knight on f4, because after g5 maybe this knight really don't have any good squares to come in play in the game. You have to go to knight h5 check. So g5, g at g, bishop e7, king f3, bishop d8, rook d4, rook e6, rook c6, king g4, rook d2, rook d4, rook d5, rook into d5, knight into d5, rook e6. Now here I think morozevich is simply giving up, without any big fight. After king f3, here morozevich resigned in view of this strong two post pawns on a and b. Okay, this was a very good game played between morozevich and Anand. One should say morozevich could have won the game by playing a moves like f5 and missed some moves with a lot of counter chances. Even Anand also doesn't really find any good plan after hitting these two knights on f5 and d5. So this is about Breya variation. Hope you enjoy this game. Please don't forget to subscribe and leave comments. See you in the next video. Bye.